Okay, in this video, we're going to tackle several of the different modules at once, the ones that are quite similar. So we're going to talk through why you would need each one, and then generally how they're structured and how they can be customized. So we're looking at the scope module here. So this is used to, it can be used in a couple of different ways. So as you can see here, all of the scope statements can be loaded in. So the project manager can track whether the requirements or the commitments that have been made in those scope statements are met in the delivered project. What can also happen is when the scope changes, that can be registered in here as effectively a change. And you can see they're similar if you're familiar with some of our other modules. They're very similar in that there's a name and description, there's a task status, a scope status, and then some extra categorical information to help manage a larger number of items. So as well as that, we've also got our actions register. So this will be when formal decisions are made in a project for a particular action to take place. A very similar arrangement can also be done for decisions, so and which we'll get to. Defects is a little bit different because even though you would capture the information in a similar way as you would for scope or actions, you can add some additional workflow automation in here. So for things like reporting on defects that are overdue, or being able to, something that's a bit different about these is often they'll be assigned out to external contacts. And so say an external supplier or tradesperson or specialist would collaborate through Smartsheet, being aware of what defects they've had assigned to them. But otherwise, the register itself would work in the same way. Moving down the list, we can have issues. Once again, that kind of same familiar layout, which is really helpful, but with potentially the list of statuses being updated based on your own requirements. So issues are going to be more significant problems in projects, whether that be related to the resourcing or the schedule. And you can, in fact, even categorize the issues by a list of types, if that's what you'd prefer. Changes. So we can handle change requests in a number of different ways. So the way this one is set up is there's actually an approval workflow. So a project manager could come in here and say, all right, we're going to be changing the timeline of this project, and it can be sent off to a, say, PMO manager, or it could be the primary champion or stakeholder for the project to approve each of those changes. In decisions will be, this is something that in InfoSpark we use this type of thing a lot. It's just capturing all of those, as you'd expect, decisions that are made within a project. And those decisions can be things like why a certain vendor was selected, why a certain design was used. It's really a very helpful way of, in a structured way, just capturing what the key decisions in the project are and rationalizing them, so that either during the project or even after it, people have an easy way of reflecting back and finding out why a project was delivered in a particular way without having to go through emails, which is obviously impossible with project teams that might have moved on by then. So they're the kind of basic registers that are used within our PMO template. What you'll see is that even though there's a lot of similarity, it makes a lot of sense that they're kept as separate modules rather than, say, a generic single tracker type module, because they'll have a different status, a different workflow, a different need for automated notifications or approvals, or a different set of prioritization or categorization. So it's good to have them separate. And then obviously in our project dashboards, we can tap into all of that information and display it like this, so that you can kind of see each category of information. Finally, I'll just finish on showing our project dashboards monitor all of those different registers, and obviously there's some here that I haven't covered on this video. Monitor those registers and will record how much those registers are being used. And that is really great for, say, a project manager that wants to make sure his project team are capturing decisions well, or a PMO manager would cast their eye over this to just make sure that the project manager is using the toolkit to the best of its ability. Thanks.